My name is Abla Jifa Gomashi, and I am the blessed member of parliament for Katu South in the Volta region. So I've been in parliament 3 years now. I've also won my primaries, so all things being equal, I'll be back here after my first term.
My name is Patricia Pieji, the Honourable Member of Parliament representing the good people of Asokwa in Kumasi. They've given me the opportunity to represent them 3 times, and they are giving me another opportunity for a 4th time.
This Kenke, bigger than this, in 2016, sold between 50 pesos and 1 cedi. The then candidate, Akufo-Addo, said 1 cedi Kenke is putting Ghanaians into extreme difficulty. Today, a shrink size of the Kenke is selling for 5 cedis. 5 Ghana cedis, which means that Ghana is in gargantuan crisis.
So my name is Della Soa. I'm the MP for Kwando constituency in the Volta region. So 4 terms, this is my 12th year. The primaries didn't favor me. A male one. I contested with 3 other males. Yeah, I was the only female in the race.
As Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection to be, what will be your views on sanitizing the media?
We should ensure that we work with the media, and all of us have the responsibility to Mother Ghana to nurture our children in the art of communication.
My life in politics was a shock to me. I am a rural development practitioner, and I was working in 98 communities in the Sisala district.
For many years, I did some community service in Katu South. Going to the community and serving, I saw that there were things I could do differently because I'm a woman. And then, as fate would have it, the MP at the time, Onofikwite, decided not to contest anymore. So that left the place vacant for anybody who was interested to contest. And I thought that it was important for us in the southern part of the Volta region to be represented as well. Also because the other regions have had women come through parliament, and even in the Volta region, the middle part and the northern part, we've had women representing women or the constituencies in parliament. But 9 constituencies in the southern part of the Volta region hadn't had a woman in the chamber. And I thought, okay, you've been doing all this gender advocacy and all of that. You need to fill this gap yourself.
For some strange reason, my people from my mother's hometown, Bole, came to ask me to be their parliamentary candidate when I knew nothing about politics. It wasn't something that I wanted to do, but my love to make a difference in the lives of women and children could be resolved by getting into politics at that time, going for primaries in Bole and then making my way to parliament. However, I won the primaries, but I lost the general election. And my party also lost, the New Patriotic Party. So it was like a baptism by fire. I had been soaked in pepper and I couldn't even breathe. It was so intense because the lady that I was contesting was the sitting DCE who knew everything about politics, and she was supposed to have been acclaimed. But I just went in, like I was thrown in at the deep end, and I would say it was a miracle. Because I knew nothing about politics. It was just by the grace of God and the sheer will of my belief that this was God's will for me. And the fact that I even won was a surprise to me, because those who were more experienced, like the DCE, lost.
I have been very blessed. I have a very, very supportive husband. So I can't tell how it's like if you don't have a supportive husband. So I also don't take him for granted. Some of my constituents call me, and then when I'm in the kitchen, they're like, "What? You cook?" I'm like, "Why shouldn't I? I have a family to take care of." I know some people enter politics and suddenly they feel too important, and that will affect a normal relationship. But some men also are uncomfortable when they find their wives in political positions. They get very uncomfortable.
I've always been a mother figure to almost everybody in my constituency, and they speak to it. They are saying that if you want somebody to speak to, we have an MP who is always accessible. When they talk about accessibility, they are speaking about the fact that I pick up my calls. So I would say that one of the things that has encouraged me and has helped me to achieve this level of success will be the support of my family members, especially my husband and my children.
I had a very supportive husband who, passed away after I won the primaries in 2019. And so I got a lot of support from him and my children, especially my son. I had a few amazing people in the constituency who haven't watched me from afar and know that she has the heart and the passion to do it, she can do it, who supported me. Some constituency executives, some zonal executives, branch executives, and just the population. I think they were just ready, There's something about timing in everything. I think that by the time I picked the form, the timing was right, because the whole constituency, I think, we're excited about a woman wanting to do this, And so even though some may have alternative views, those who appreciated the fact that a woman wanted to try were in the majority, so then I won. Has it made it easier? No. And I'm not expecting it to be easier going forward, but I'm mentally and emotionally ready to jump every hurdle, navigate the terrain, and keep going.
I also had support from the women and men of the MPP, the party people, helping with the campaign and all of that. And because of my knowledge of rural development, I knew how to mobilize people at the base. But the time was really too short, and my ignorance too was both an advantage, because I was fearless. I didn't know what to expect because I didn't know anything. So I just went in with my heart and my my soul and everything. I gave it my all. Won the primaries, gave it my all. Bole had never seen such a campaign, and to this day they still talk about the campaign that I mounted in 2008, within that short space of time. After I lost, I was very devastated because the small money I had made in my development work, I put it all in my pickup. The engine got bent, so I didn't have a car, and the movement was a problem. I came to Accra, and I used to lie on my floor here and just cry because I was inconsolable. I couldn't understand why God would move me from my safe haven. I was very comfortable in Tumu and very happy doing the things that was my comfort zone, and it was my passion. I chose to go there to be a change agent. So as I lay here thinking about things, I watched TV, cried, watched TV, cried. Then I saw that the women from my party were not speaking during the morning shows. So Peace FM was then at St. John's. So I gave them a call that I would like to come and participate in their morning discussion. And they're like, have you done it before? I said, no. I said, okay, they will try me. If I'm okay, then they will continue. If not, they can't keep me. I said, no, wahala. As I went on, I got better at it. They liked what I was doing. So they put me on Thursday mornings for a long time. And some people in my party also saw me and felt that, this is the type of woman we need as a women's organizer.
Do you agree? And do you think that you may have contributed to the politicization of the program?
I deliberately contributed by engaging 550 women organizers. And I tell you, I will not apologize for that.
And so I went to contest, and gosh, I was contesting against a huge political person, Miss Christian Churcher, and the former Minister of Education, Environment, a former DC, and this is me, a nobody from nowhere. Coming to contest her is like David and Goliath. It wasn't easy. I thought Bole was painful. This was like pulling my teeth out without anesthesia. Here I am without money. And a new person, they said they used to call me Obadabe. But this is what I mean about the grace of God. Miraculously, in Kumasi, this was in 2010 of February. When they counted the votes, I had won.
During the Sagranti War, when the men were terrified to the bones and to the marrow, it took a courageous woman like Yaa Santua to step out there and to start to shout, carry the gun. I doubt whether she even knew how to shoot a gun. But she carried a gun and stood out and said, hey, we are warriors. We cannot be a timid people. We cannot be indoors. We should fight and fight the colonialists. That inspired the men after she was arrested and disarmed for the men to come up. That singular action of a woman liberated the Ashanti and the Ashanti people. Now when you move politically, Kwame Nkrumah probably did one of the fantastic jobs by allowing 10 women to be appointed into parliament. And by that, he ensured that there was deliberate effort to bring about what we call women empowerment in society, where it was difficult for women to go into parliament. Kwame Nkrumah ensured that at least we had the first 10 batch of women that would be there.
At that time, the very first affirmative action law was passed, but those were like special seats. So we brought in 10 women. And people saw that women could work and could also work at a high policy level. So the next election, which was in 1965, 18.5% of those who were elected were women. Unfortunately, there was a coup the following year, so they didn't get the chance to work in that. But I believe that if things had continued, I'm sure we had reached a point where there would be almost some kind of a parity. Since then, there were coup d'etats in between, etc., etc.
When we decided to ascend to the Fourth Republican Constitution, there were women of metal, I call them, women of substance, raw iron. You know, we had just moved from a military leader into constitutionalism. One would expect that the terrain would be as rugged, as rough, and as dirty then than today. But you had women like Hawa Yakubu, right, who stood up amongst men, contested elections as independent candidates, not even on the tickets of political parties. And they defeated those men and came into parliament. In parliament, they did not subordinate themselves to anybody. People like Christian Churchill, you may not agree with them, Amma Benyuado, they contested. I'm sure that these names rings a bell to you. that look, these were not just pushovers when they, through their own capacity, they went into parliament. They displayed knowledge, they displayed courage, and they displayed above all that they were human beings and they were mingling with women, with other human beings.
Fortunately for some of us, we were born within the Fourth Republic. And so growing up, I was inspired and motivated by some great women politicians. We have the likes of Honorable Hawa Yakubu, Honorable Gladys Asma, Honorable Christian Chacha. They were women who knew their stuff, and you could see that they were in parliament for business. They knew what they were about, and they really represented the women front during those times. Currently, we have about 40 women parliamentarians, representing 14.5%. Out of 275 parliamentarians, I believe that it doesn't speak well of us, because as a nation, we've come too far. But then when you look at records, it seems that's our best so far. That's with the 40 women parliamentarians we have in Ghana. And we have all these women who have fought their way through there. And you speak with them and everybody tells you it has not been easy.
If you look at the national population census, women form 51% of the population. And so naturally, they should have been given more representation in national institutions, but we have not been able to do that. So if you look at parliament, we started with 8 women in 1993, 8 of them. Then in 2004, we had 230 constituencies, and so we had 25 women in parliament. But in 2008, that number dropped from 25 to 20. In 2020, we have 275 seats with 40 women. It is not an ideal situation, even though the figures have moved. People will say that, oh, within the last 31 years, the figures in parliament have moved from 8 to 40. There is progress. Progress is not there, because even the 40 women only formed 14.5%.
And there are several dynamics in elections, several dynamics that will tell why somebody is elected. So that majorly depends on who is voting or who is bringing these people into power, these women into power. And it's the local Ghanaian at the constituency level, which is out of the hands of leadership of a party or leadership in government. And so it becomes very difficult. But then you ask yourself, why do we have very little representation? I think it's 2 things. Because the motivation for women to go into politics is still low. We are better than maybe 10 years ago, but it's still low. And secondly, the mindset of the constituent, the local constituent, or the normal voter belonging to a political party or not, what do they still think about women coming into politics? People think that women are not as corruptible as men, and it's true. You are sure that should she receive anything from the top, she's going to descend it down well. We should highlight a lot more of how reliable women are than men, okay? So that even the men themselves will want to vote for a woman. And that is how it's going to affect participation in parliament.
I think irrespective of your political affiliation, we want the numbers. This particular constituency, we expect a woman to contest there, or it should be female contest, a woman-to-woman contest. So at the end of the day, if you are even losing, you know that there's still a strong pillar that is a woman to represent whatever political party. And I think with this, if we build our basis or our arguments on this, we'll make a headway, we'll make a progress.
You know, in Ghana, we have what we call the first past the post system. So it's a big race. We all saw what has happened. All I won't say all, the major big parties, NDC, MPP, have already done their primaries. And unfortunately, because of the fights, many women, I know that some of the political parties in their party constitutions have started some form of affirmative action, first of all, by making the amount of money women have to pay to stand positions slightly lower as compared to men. But even that slightly lower is difficult for many women. Okay, within many political parties, you would see the women's wing, when they are doing functions or programs, the women will go and see to the cooking and getting the place ready and wearing things all over the place. But when it comes to even leadership within the political parties, it's like once they have a women's organizer, the rest is still, we need women to be integrated in there. The political party structures itself. We need more women in decision-making positions. And then we need the affirmative action they are enacting to increase the numbers of women to be more visible.
In 1996, for the first time in the political history of this nation, Dr. Edward Mama selected Professor Dedo Mate as running mate. 1996. How did the women groups respond to that selection of a running mate? If women had a constituency of their own, and it is decided that in 1996, once of our own has been chosen to be at the apex level of governance, we are going to mobilize the women's front to campaign and to support and to assist her. I'm sure the equation would have changed today for any political party to know that, look, if you give premium to women, women will come at the back of them. But what is it that if we give premium to a woman and then the women don't come in bulk to come and support, there will not be motivation for the political parties to support.
In all the countries that have managed to get quite a sizable amount of women in decision-making positions, including parliament, it took law. In South Africa, they had come out of apartheid, so they tried to address discrimination of different types, including the racial, then they put in the gender. So right from the onset, their constitution made it clear that a certain number, there has to be some measures in place to ensure that you have enough women as well as men in the parliament. In Rwanda, their constitution also put in the minimum threshold of 30. They also came from a crisis, strengthened their constitution. When the initial 30 came in, people saw that these people could work. And this is not just parliament, their district assembly, their whatever. And people have seen, what women can also deliver, to the extent that now, when it comes to even their national elections, they tend to vote even more for women than men. Our own neighbor, which is Sierra Leone, their political history is very much like ours, colonized, etc., etc. So they also realized the need to try to conform to what the international conventions are saying. So in 2022, they came up with a law, minimum 30% threshold. In countries like South Africa, in countries like Rwanda, they have a proportional representation system, so it was very easy to implement this thing. I think Guinea also passed their law. But in countries which has what we call the first past the post system, like ours, it's more difficult.
It's not enough to say that give women a space. The men themselves are fighting for this space. So if they're not going to give it to us, we have to take it. Why are the men who have wives, who have daughters, who have mothers, not also voting for women? It's because they are used to having the woman being mother, being sacrificing what on it. Always the woman helping with the homework, the food. He just comes back from work and relax, reading the newspaper. Now we have all gone to school. We can all read newspaper. So why should you come and be reading newspaper and I'll be in the kitchen? And so women must understand that it's very important to vote for other women, to support women. And men must also understand and recognize the importance of voting for women and supporting them to come up. Just as they say behind a successful man is a woman. Who is behind a successful woman?
Why should women have an organizer when the men don't have an organizer? The men are national organizer, the men are general secretary, chairman, youth organizer, and there's a women's organizer position. What's the meaning of that? Because there are men and women. So that position should be scrapped from every political party. If there's women's organizer, there should be men's organizer. Because you are stereotyping us. If I take the New Patriotic Party, if you look at their hierarchy, all men, then we have a deputy general secretary. And I believe even they did that because I became a first female general secretary. Then you go into the NDC. We have men. Then it's the deputy, one of the deputies is we don't even hear about it. It's only the CPP where you have women at the top.
And the political parties, the way the system is too male dominated. It's only the women's wing. Even some places I heard that the men wanted to be women organizers. What is that? And so a woman can contest to be a chairman, can be a general secretary.
Everywhere is tough for women. And the fact that an institution or a group or political party will come out and state that they want to make things easier for women doesn't mean that overnight it becomes very easy for women. It's still very tough. It's just that they are creating the awareness of trying to, make situations quite easy for women.
But there is no statement in our constitution that says that this particular position is prescribed for just men and is a no-no or no-go area for women. Just that we prefer to cage ourselves in the position of women's wing. Once it's mentioned women, well, let me stay within the confines of the women's wing as a women organizer. But there is no strict attachment to particular positions in our party and party constitution.
Every opportunity should be given to women to excel. And it shouldn't be always, the woman should be the deputy. No. Women should be. We have had women flag bearers. PPP, we have Bechi Jobenuku. NDP, we have former First Lady, Her Excellency Nana Konadu Agyemang-Rawlings. I think that the time has come for the system to break barriers for the women. But the women too, we should make the people feel that if we get the position, we are going to make sure that things are right. Our makeup is to care. Our makeup is to take care of the home, take care of people, more prudent. I think that if a woman becomes a president or they put more women, I've never seen a woman finance minister. Nigeria did it. Women are not that corrupt. We are not corrupt. A women's finance minister would be great. There was a deputy finance minister, Mrs. Mona Korte. In the NDC government, the NPP, I haven't seen a woman in the hierarchy of. Now they brought Abna something. Yes, she's there. But why not when, for instance, Honorable Keno Furiata left? If she's there, wasn't she made the something finance minister? Now we have a female chief of staff. Great. But not just once and we leave it. It should be everywhere consistent.
By the way, the men who have been the presidents, do we have a perfect society? Do we have a perfect country? Why is the yardsticks about, why shouldn't we be ready? Women raised all these men who have been presidents and kings and chiefs and what have you. So we've done some great things. We are very ready to be presidents of this country. Take Professor Nana Jane, for example. She was vice chancellor of her university, wasn't she? Marita Brew, yeah, Pure Pong, yeah. She was AG, amazing woman. Professor Akosua Adumakwa-Mpofu, who was in charge of African Studies, and Techua Menu. We have the women. I mean, they've done so well. I mean, aren't we happy to say all the time that Mrs. Esther Klu was the first female industrialist? If she was alive, you would still question the fact whether she can be president.
We must have a quota system. The parties must agree that certain seats, the safe seats, will be mandatory. The government must agree to that and reserve them. There must be a budget for political parties so that if there is a national budget for each political party, this percentage should be allocated to women to support them.
So for the NDC and MPP, for instance, you look at your dynamics within your political party, then you cut a quota that perhaps this year we want 40% of our female our female candidates to enter parliament. Depending on the nature and the dynamics you find in your political party, you should be able to come up with some of these policies to motivate young women, especially the zeal to enter into politics. We have to encourage them. The political parties have to be deliberate. They have to be deliberate and have a quota system. When you come to Movement for Change, we have quite a number of women who are in. But then again, a lot of the women are afraid to show up because of intimidation. So the few of us who are around, we are not also having it easy.
We should not be afraid to take on responsibility. We are all yearning for the affirmative action bill to be passed. 30%, 50%. Sometimes you call the women, they won't even come. Where are we going to get that 30% from? Is it just 30% just for the show, or 30% because we are serious? So what is stopping us from stepping forward? We need to examine that. And what happens to those who step forward? You and I know the story. So if we refuse to take the space, if we refuse to take the opportunity, we will not go anywhere.
We are a country with a population whereby women are more than men, and yet we go to Parliament, which is the legislative arm of government that makes decisions, and we have only 40 women out of 275. They are trying. The women over there are doing their best, but I think that if we've had quite a number of them, even if we had 100, they would have made a case. So at times I pray that the likes of Nana Oyebampo Addo get to Parliament. It hurts me so much that she's lost twice, because that woman had that gravitas that it takes to get there, to add her voice to decision-making processes.
There should be a deliberate effort to churn out a policy by the major political parties to ensure that we will improve on our participation, not only in governance, but in every aspect of our lives.
Political will must be brought to bear. And I've noticed that when the political powers, they want the information, right to information bill passed, it is done.
We should put a lot of pressure on the president and the various presidential candidates to state categorically the number or the percentage of women that they will appoint as CEOs, they will appoint as DCEs or MCEs, they will appoint as deputy ministers and ministers. Once we are able to empower these women, and they also have control, assuming that a CEO gets better pay, then they will also become financially empowered, that they can now go out there where the women think that politics is about money. Once you are a CEO and you can also get a sufficient pay, then it means that you can go and contest adequately, materially and spiritually, and of course intellectually. Then we can win to come to Parliament.
So I believe that it's high time all of us, all stakeholders, government, civil society organization, traditional authorities especially, religious organizations especially, we need a serious roundtable discussion on such matters.
All I know is that to make progress, we have to continue working together.